Have you ever bent down to pick money and whispered, "Ah, God has remembered me"? But what if that money wasn't a blessing? What if that note was planted, not to lift you up, but to drag you into a world where your voice becomes a bleat and your body is no longer your own? In a quiet Yoruba village called Ijare, a boy named Ayotunde thought he found luck on the road. But what he found was a trap. And when the spirits were done with him, he didn't return as a boy. He came back as a goat. This is not just a story, this is a warning. And it all begins the moment he bent down. Welcome to African Tales by Imade. Please like, share, drop your comments, subscribe to our channel, and watch till the very end because this story, it will hold your breath hostage. It was a hot Thursday afternoon in Ijare, a peaceful village tucked behind the hills of Ondo State. The sun blazed like fire, and the dusty red paths cracked under the weight of the heat. 12-year-old Ayotunde, known as Ayor to his friends, was just walking home from school. His blue uniform shirt was stained with chalk, and his sandals had more holes than the village road. But today, he didn't care. Because right there, on the bush path behind the old cocoa farm, something caught his eye. A 500 naira note, fresh, clean, lying on the dry ground like manna from heaven. Ayor stopped. He looked left. He looked right. Silence. Not even the leaves moved. He looked again. Then smiled wide. Ah, God has remembered me. He bent down, his fingers inches from the money, when suddenly a cold gust of wind blew past. The trees rustled. A crow screamed from a branch. Ayor paused. His heart beat faster. Then, nothing. The wind disappeared. "I beg," he muttered, brushing off the moment. "Money is money." He picked it. Nothing happened. No thunder, no earthquake. Ayor folded the note and slipped it inside his sock, grinning from ear to ear. Let me buy gala, recharge card, maybe even get new sandals. But he didn't know something was watching. Something ancient. Something waiting. When he got home, his mother, Ayor, was roasting ground nuts under the mango tree. Her wrapper was tied high and sweat ran down her forehead. "Mama, see what I found!" Ayor shouted. Ayor turned sharply. "Where did you get that money?" "I saw it on the road," Ayor said, proud. "Near that cocoa farm path." Her eyes widened. The ground nut tray fell. "You what?" "I picked it. Mama, maybe this is our breakthrough." Before he could finish, Ayor grabbed the note and threw it into the fire beside her. The flame hissed. The note curled. Gone. Ayor's jaw dropped. "Mama, that was 1,000 naira. That was a trap, not a blessing," she shouted. "I've told you before, never pick money from the ground." He frowned. "But why?" Her eyes filled with fear. "Because not all money is lost. Some are dropped intentionally. If you pick the wrong one, your own shadow may not follow you home." Ayor hissed and walked off angrily. Old people and their fear. Everything is spiritual, spiritual, spiritual. He didn't know. The ground was listening. That night, the wind howled like a hungry animal. Ayor lay on his raffia mat, staring at the ceiling. The smell of roasted groundnuts still lingered in the air. He turned, annoyed. Mama overreacted. How can money be dangerous? The next morning, he walked the long way to school, but his eyes scanned the road, looking, hoping. Then it happened again. Another note. 1,000 naira this time. Just beside the footpath near the village well. He stopped, looked around. Nothing. He picked it. Again, nothing happened. He chuckled. I knew it. Mama is just afraid of her own shadow. From that day, Ayor began to hunt money. Every bush path, every corner. Whenever he saw a note, he picked it without hesitation. He even started calling it his daily blessing. But he didn't tell his mother anymore. 2 weeks passed. On a Tuesday, he saw something strange. 3 1,000 naira notes, neatly arranged in a row like a trail, right behind the Anglican church bush path. Ayor's eyes widened. Ah, this is jackpot. He bent slowly, picked one, then another, then the third. And then, the wind stopped. A bird froze mid-flight. The trees stood still like statues. Then suddenly, his body shook. His legs twisted, his hands bent backward. His mouth opened wide, but no words came out. Just a loud, shaky bleat. Ayor screamed in his mind, but all that came out was, "Me!" And then, he was gone. When Ayotunde opened his eyes, he wasn't in Ijare anymore. He was inside a dark, wide enclosure with high wooden fences. The air smelled of sweat, dirt, and something strange, like burnt herbs and blood. All around him were goats, but not normal goats. They had human eyes. One limped like an old man. Another sat quietly, staring into space. One even looked like it had been crying. Ayor tried to move. He couldn't walk upright. His body felt wrong. He looked down. Hooves. His scream came out as a bleat. "Me!" Suddenly a deep voice echoed across the compound. "Tonight, we sacrifice for success. The senator wants his contract renewed." The goats trembled. Out of the grand house stepped Baba Ijiogbe, a tall man with white agbada and gold rings. His face looked gentle, but his eyes were cold, empty, no soul behind them. Everyone in Ijare knew his name. He sponsored church harvests. He gave out scholarships. But what they didn't know was that Baba Ijiogbe fed something darker. He was not a helper. He was a taker, a shadow in white. His assistant, a man with red beads, opened the gate and pointed. "That one." Ayor's heart stopped. He was next. As the assistant moved forward, a tiny old goat beside him whispered, "We were like you once. Boys, girls, we all picked the money." Ayor cried without tears. His body trembled. Then thunder struck. The skies opened. The assistant paused. And in that moment, Ayor ran, bolted. Into the bush, through mud, past branches and fireflies, bleating loudly, until he reached home. The rain fell that night like the sky had cracked open. Lightning lit up the rooftops of Ijare. Thunder rolled across the heavens like drums of war. The wind slapped the trees. And in a small compound near the village well, a woman sat alone. Iya Ayotunde. She sat in silence, staring at the dying fire, the flames barely holding on. Her wrapper was tied loose around her chest, and her hands kept moving, wringing her fingers, rubbing her knees, anything to keep the growing panic inside her from spilling out. "He should be back," she whispered. School closed at 4 o'clock. It was now 9 p.m. She stood up suddenly and called again, voice cracking against the storm. "Ayotunde! Ayo! Where are you?" But there was only wind and thunder. She rushed outside barefoot, her wrapper flapping wildly in the wind. She ran down the bush path that led toward the main road, her lantern swinging in one hand. Her legs splashed through muddy puddles. She peered into dark corners, looked behind banana trees, listened. Nothing. No footsteps. No voice. No sign of her son. She ran to her neighbor's house, banged the gate. "Mama Ibeji, please! Have you seen Ayor? Has he come this way?" "No, Mama Ayor. Is he not home yet?" She ran to another house, and another. Then she dashed to the school compound, yelling his name. The watchman shook his head. "He left long ago. I even saw him on the road." That made her chest twist harder. He had been on the road. But where did he go? That entire night she didn't sleep. She sat by the window, staring into the dark. By morning, her eyes were red and heavy, but she still moved. She went to the farm road, to the football field, to the old cocoa trail, to the borehole, to the market square. "Please! Has anyone seen my son? Ayotunde, my only child? Please!" People joined the search. Some offered prayers. Others looked toward the forest and shook their heads. But she refused to stop. The sky broke open again. Rain poured like the heavens were weeping with her, and as she sat beside her cold hearth, legs weak, chest hollow, she heard it. Bleeding. Not loud, not angry, but soft, long, mournful. She froze. Eh? What kind of goat cries like that in this storm? She picked up her lantern again and stepped into the rain, confused but drawn toward the sound. And there, just beneath the mango tree, stood a small muddy goat, soaked from head to hoof, shaking with cold. Its eyes looked strange. Too wide, too knowing, too human. The goat took a slow, weak step toward her and pressed its head gently against her leg. She stared. She blinked. "Who owns this goat? How did you get here?" She looked around the yard. No one. No farmer. No neighbor. She bent low, carefully tied a piece of rope around its neck, and led it behind her hut to a wooden stake. "Maybe you are remembering me, Lord," she whispered. "Maybe you're sending meat to help me through this hard time." She fetched cassava peels, yam skin, and cold eba, but the goat didn't eat. It only watched her and cried. Morning came with gray clouds and silence. Ayor stepped out, hair tied, eyes swollen from crying. Her wrapper sagged. She moved slowly, like someone carrying a secret weight. She walked to the goat. It stood where she left it, untouched food beside it. She frowned. "You again. You won't eat? Are you sick?" She replaced the food with corn husks. Nothing. Then she brought banana peel. Nothing. It just stared at her, quiet, deep eyes as if trying to speak. She sighed and walked inside. Her hand brushed against her son's school bag lying near the window, still packed from earlier in the week. Curious, she opened it. Inside, she found a small piece of agege bread, slightly dry. She paused. Something told her to try it. She broke a small piece, walked back outside, and placed it near the goat. The reaction shocked her. The goat jumped forward and gobbled the bread like it was gold, then licked the ground, searching for crumbs. "Ha," she whispered, heart racing. "Bread? You eat bread?" Her son loved bread. Her son, Ayotunde. She felt a small chill crawl up her spine. That night, the bleeding continued, but it wasn't normal. It wasn't just meh-meh. It was long, low, painful, almost like wailing. Ayor sat beside her mat, arms folded around herself. She stared at the goat, tied up in the shed behind her window. And then, something strange happened. The bleeding wasn't just coming from the yard anymore. She felt it. Inside her chest, like her own heart was crying. She rubbed her arms, whispered a prayer, closed her eyes, and the face that flashed before her was Ayor's. On the fourth night, Ayor could not stay awake. Her body collapsed beside the fire, and for the first time in many days, she dreamed. But it wasn't like any dream she'd had before. She stood beside a river that flowed like melted palm oil. The water was thick, red, and rushing. In the middle of the river floated Ayotunde. His hands reached out, his voice cracked. "Mama, help me!" She tried to run forward, but her legs were stuck. She couldn't move. Then the sky turned black. A tall man appeared on the opposite riverbank, his face covered in white chalk. His voice rolled like thunder. "Your son bent for cursed money. Now his soul is trapped. If you do not seek the truth, your goat will become your sorrow." She screamed herself awake. Her wrapper was drenched in sweat. She ran outside. The goat looked up at her. Its eyes were glowing in the moonlight. Not evil, but tired, sad, familiar. She gasped, her throat locked. "Ayor?" she whispered. She couldn't wait anymore. She gently wrapped the goat in a faded cloth, tied it to her back like a baby, and without shoes, without a second thought, she walked into the darkness. Through the village paths, over muddy hills, past sleeping farms and quiet trees. Her feet bled, her soul cried, but her voice stayed strong, until she reached the home of Baba Alagbaby, the respected Babalawo of Ijare. She dropped to her knees. "Baba, please, my son is missing. I've searched everywhere, but this goat came to me. I had a dream. I believe, no, I know it's him. Help me, please." Baba Alagbedi came out slowly. His face was calm, too calm. He looked at the goat, then back at her, and said words that broke her. "Go home. If the spirits wanted him found, they'd have brought him back properly. That's just a goat, nothing more." She blinked. "You won't even check? You won't consult?" But he turned, walked inside, closed the door. No kola nut, no incantation, no help. Her body went cold. That was not how elders acted. Her soul knew he was hiding something. She rose slowly, tied the goat back on her back, and walked away. But she didn't return home. Instead, she turned toward the hills beyond the Os River, to a place people only spoke of in whispers, a place where old truths still breathed, where it was said one man lived, Igbakeji Orunmila, a seer so ancient they said his shadow remembered the beginning of time. She didn't stop for water. She didn't stop to cry, because now she knew. This wasn't just a story. This was her son's soul, and she had to bring him back. The journey was long. Iya Ayor walked barefoot through clay roads, rocky hills, and thick bushes. Her wrapper tore in places, but she didn't stop. On her back, the little goat, Ayotunde, trembled softly, wrapped like a baby in her old cloth. Her heart beat with one song, "Bring my child back." After hours of walking, the trees changed. The forest became silent. No birds, no crickets, just wind whispering through leaves. Then she saw it. A clearing surrounded by carved stones and hanging calabashes. The ground was white with powdered chalk. Smoke rose from a small fire surrounded by feathers, bones, and sacred leaves. There, sitting calmly like the mountain itself, was a man. His skin was as dark as night, smooth like river stone. His hair was white like cotton, and his eyes looked like they had seen the beginning of the world. This was Igbakeji Orunmila. The old priest did not speak at first. He only stared at Iya Ayor, then at the goat wrapped on her back. Finally, in a low voice, he said, "Remove the cloth." With shaking hands, she placed the goat gently on the sacred mat before him. He closed his eyes, whispered into his Opon Ifa, and scattered 16 sacred seeds. Then he opened his eyes. "This," he said, "is not a goat." Iya Ayor gasped. Her knees gave way. "Baba, it's my son. Is he still there? Can he come back?" The old man nodded. "Yes, but the path is narrow, very narrow." He pointed to the fire. Then he took a white chalk and drew circles on the ground, murmuring names of old spirits, calling on Orunmila, Esu, and Osanyin. "I must know who cast the curse," he said. "To break a chain, you must know who tied it." He dropped a handful of cowries on a white cloth and began to chant. As the cowries settled, his face changed, from calm to shocked. He looked into the fire. "Ah, what is it?" Iya Ayor whispered, afraid. He stared at her. "The person shielding your son's spirit is someone trusted, someone close, a priest, a babalawo who knows the road but chose to cover it." Iya Ayor's mouth fell open. "Baba Alagbede?" Igbakeji Orunmila nodded. He was paid to look away. The wind shifted. Igbakeji Orunmila placed a small gourd on Ayotunde's head, tied it with red thread, and struck it gently with a bell. Ting! The goat twitched. The fire flared. The wind roared. Then silence. The old man whispered, "By the power of the land, may what was twisted be straightened." He poured palm oil on the chalk circle. He scattered dried herbs into the fire. The smoke rose in spirals. Then, something began to happen. Ayotunde's goat legs shook violently. The fur peeled like shedding skin. The hooves cracked. The shape changed. And then, Ayor, naked, weak, crying, lying on the mat like a newborn. Iya Ayor screamed with joy. She rushed to him, covering him with her wrapper, kissing his head over and over. "My son, my son!" He looked up at her, trembling. "Mama, I was there, I saw them. They are not goats, they are people. Boys, girls, grown-ups, all trapped. He's feeding something with them." "Who?" Iya Ayor asked. "Baba Ijiogbe." The old man nodded again. "Yes, the one they call helper of the poor. He is not a helper, he is a collector." Ayor cried. "He picks the fattest ones for sacrifice, every night. And our own Babalawo, Baba Alagbede, he protects him. He blocks people from seeing the truth." Iya Ayor stood slowly. Her eyes were sharp now, wet with tears but burning with fire. "I'm going back," she said. The old priest stood too. "Be careful. You carry truth now, and truth can burn like hot pepper." "I don't care," she said. Let it burn the whole village. I'll tell them everything." And with that, mother and son began the journey back to Ijare. When Iya Ayor returned to Ijare, she didn't go home. She didn't rest. She marched straight to the village square with Ayotunde by her side. Her voice echoed like a gong. "Everybody come out," she shouted. "Come and hear what was hidden from you." People gathered quickly. The old, the young, farmers, traders, even the Igbo woman that sold puff-puff near the well. Iya Ayor held up her son's hand. "This is Ayotunde, my son who vanished 2 weeks ago, the one I cried for every day." Gasps. "Shebi, you all remember?" People nodded. "Yes, he disappeared." "Well," she said, her voice cracking, "he did not disappear, he was turned into a goat." Gasps turned to murmurs, confused looks, some laughter, but she wasn't done. "He was turned into a goat because he picked money from the road, cursed money. Money dropped by the one you all respect. The man who sponsors church harvests and gives rice during festivals. Baba Ijogibe." The murmurs became shouts. "What are you saying?" "Ah, be careful, oh. Baba Ijogibe is a good man." Ayor stepped forward. His voice shook, but he spoke. "I saw it. I lived it. I was there. He keeps people in a big pen behind his mansion. They look like goats, but they are not. They are trapped people. I heard them cry every night. He feeds the spirits with them. And Baba Alagbede, our own Babalawo, knows. But he took money and kept quiet." Suddenly, silence. Then, "My brother vanished last year," someone shouted. "My son too," another cried. The crowd grew loud, angry, shocked. The king's guards arrived, the palace elders came, and at the center of it all, a mother and her son stood shaking but unafraid. They had pulled back the curtain, and now the storm was coming. The sun rose over Ijare, but the village wasn't waking up gently like it used to. This morning the streets were full of noise, footsteps, cries, whispers growing into roars. The market women stopped selling. The hunters dropped their traps. Even the Kabiesi's palace guards stood at alert. Because something strange had happened. A boy who had disappeared returned and said he was once a goat. And not just any goat, but one trapped inside Baba Ijiogbe's mansion. "I saw them," Ayotunde repeated before the village elders. "Boys, girls, grown people, all in goat bodies. They cried like me. We were all picked from the bush path, one note at a time, and sacrificed." The elders looked at one another. "Are you sure of what you're saying?" the Oba asked. Ayor nodded, his hands trembling. "And the Babalawo?" the chief priest asked. "My mother went to him," Ayor said. "She begged. He said no. He told her to go back. But the other Babalawo from Oke Ekiti helped us. He saw the truth. He brought me back." Gasps filled the square. People cried. Some called their missing children's names. One woman fainted on the spot. Then, in a voice like thunder, the Oba rose from his royal stool. "Bring them!" His guards moved like a tide. First came Baba Alagbede. His white cloth looked dull in the sun. His head was bowed. His feet dragged on the sandy ground. "You," the Oba said, "are the one we trusted to protect the sacred, yet you closed your eyes and sold our children." The elders whispered angrily, "Do you deny it?" one asked. Baba Alagbede didn't speak. The Oba stood. "Then your silence has spoken." He turned to the crowd. From today forward, Baba Alagbede is no longer a Babalawo in Ijare. His shrine is to be torn down, his charms burned, his name removed from all praise songs. The crowd roared. The sacred beads were ripped from Baba Alagbede's neck. His staff was broken, his calabashes were smashed, his feathers were tossed into fire, and in the middle of the square the people watched him fall from grace. It was early evening when the crowd marched toward Baba Igiagbe's mansion. They came with palm branches, not weapons, because what they wanted was truth. At the front of the mob stood Ayotunde and his mother, behind them the elders, beside them the Oba, and among them people who had lost brothers, sisters, children. When they arrived, they knocked once, then pushed the gates open. What they saw made even the strongest men hold their breath. A large compound, big enough to fit 10 houses, a shrine near the corner, smoking with strange fire, but it was the goat pen that stole their voices. Over 50 goats, but they didn't behave like goats. Some wept, some crawled away, some tried to speak but only bleated. Yet their eyes were human. One elder fell to his knees. Another shouted, "My son! That's my son's face!" Then the palace guards stormed into the mansion. Inside, they found jars filled with names, written on palm leaves. They found money tied with red thread, charms sealed with blood, and under Baba Igiagbe's pillow, a diary. Inside were pages with names of people who had vanished, notes about who was sacrificed for what, land, contracts, children, influence, and the handwriting was his. The man they praised at church, the one who gave rice to widows, the one who danced in harvest festivals, now stood exposed as a taker of souls. He was dragged to the palace square in silence, his agbada torn, his rings stripped, his face pale. The Oba spoke, voice heavy with sorrow. "Baba Igiagbe, you are no longer one of us. You will not be beaten, you will not be touched, but you will be banished. You will walk this land alone. No hut will shelter you, no hand will feed you. You will be like a wind, everywhere but nowhere." He paused, "And let it be known, anyone who follows his path shall follow his punishment." The crowd roared, and Baba Igiagbe, once the most powerful man in Ijare, was walked through the village gate, alone. The next day, Igbaki Orunmila arrived quietly in Ijare. He didn't speak much. He didn't ask questions. He walked into the compound, past the broken charms, past the empty shrine. He entered the goat pen. He sat in the center, eyes closed. Then he drew white chalk on the earth, one circle, then another, and another. He scattered sacred leaves, whispered ancient words. Then he lifted his hand and spoke loud enough for the ancestors to hear. "Let the land return what was stolen. Let the innocent rise. Let the bodies remember who they were before the lie." The wind shifted. One by one, the goats collapsed, softly, slowly. And then, like water dripping from a roof, they began to change. A girl, a man, a mother, a boy, a grandmother, naked, shivering, crying. They returned. The pen became a place of miracles. People rushed in, parents screamed, wives wept, friends danced and fell to the ground in joy. Children ran barefoot to hug fathers they thought were gone. One mother fainted in shock when she saw her baby boy, now 10 years older, standing before her. At the edge of the pen, Ayotunde stood beside his mother, watching it all. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. His heart was full, but heavy, because he remembered what it felt like to be silent inside a goat's body. He remembered the pain, the confusion, the fear. Weeks later, people still came to hear his story. Some asked questions, others cried. But whenever someone asked, "Ayor, what will you do now?" he simply smiled and said, "If I see money on the ground, I walk away." Because not every money is a blessing. The wind in Ijare changed. It no longer carried the whispers of sorrow. It carried songs, songs of joy, of survival, of truth finally rising like yam after the rains. In the heart of the village, under the Iroko tree, the people gathered for a feast, not to celebrate food, but freedom. The rescued ones sat quietly among their people. Some hadn't spoken in days. Some wept even while eating. Many couldn't remember the full time they spent in goat form. But their eyes carried the weight of something only those who had seen shadows could understand. Ayotunde sat beside his mother, holding her hand. He had not left her side since his return. At night, she still tied a wrapper around both of them, as if fearing the spirits would come again. He didn't speak much, but when he did, the village listened. One morning, the Oba sent for him. The palace was full. Elders, hunters, even school children came to see. Ayotunde stood tall in front of them all. "My people," the Oba began. "This boy entered the fire and came out with truth. Let no one call him just a child again. He is proof that even the smallest light can chase out a very dark shadow." The crowd clapped. From that day on, Ayotunde became a voice of warning, a quiet reminder of what greed can unlock. And wherever he walked, children ran to him. Parents told their kids, "That's the boy who came back from goat shape. Listen to him. Don't touch what isn't yours." Ijare had changed, but healing takes time, and the scars, though invisible, remained. 2 weeks after the Great Return, Igbakeji Orunmila gathered the elders at the village square. "This work is not complete," he said gently. "The spirits are satisfied, but the land remembers where blood was spilled." He led a quiet ritual under the large baobab tree. A pot was broken. Leaves were burned. White doves were released into the sky. And then he turned to Iya Ayor. "You," he said, "are the one who refused to give up, even when doors were closed, even when truth was too heavy to carry. You kept walking. The spirits bless mothers like you." He handed her a staff, short, carved, painted red and black. "From today, let this be your symbol. You are now the guardian of broken paths, the one who will remind others that danger can hide even in a folded Naira note." Tears rolled down her cheeks. She dropped to her knees and lifted the staff high. "Ashe," the crowd murmured. "Ashe." That night, Ayotunde and his mother sat beside their fire again. For the first time in a long while, they laughed, over burnt beans, over old stories, over life. The stars sparkled like they were smiling too. Months passed. Ijere was peaceful again, but the warning remained. No one picked money from the ground anymore. Even little children shouted, "No touch," whenever they saw a note lying alone on the road. One morning, just before the Yam Festival, Ayotunde was walking with his friends by the riverbank. They were playing, laughing, splashing water on each other. Then he saw it, a crisp 200 Naira note lying gently on the path beside a banana tree. He froze. His friends rushed over. "Ayor, see money!" But Ayor stepped back. He looked at the note. Then he looked at the tree, the wind, the silent ground. He smiled, and without saying a word, he walked away. His friends followed him. Because when a boy who once became a goat walks away from money, you don't ask why, you follow him. And just like that, a new generation of children began to fear the wrong kind of wealth. Not poverty, but the kind of riches that hide evil in its folds. Moral of the story: not every opportunity is a blessing. Not everything that looks easy is safe. And not every money on the ground is lost. Some were put there, waiting for greedy hands to grab what was never theirs. Always listen to wisdom. Always question what feels too easy. Because sometimes it's not favor. It's a trap. This story teaches us that patience, contentment, and spiritual caution are not old-fashioned, they are shields. And in the words of Ayotunde, if it wasn't given to you, don't pick it. Not everything free is truly free. Thank you for watching this powerful African folktale right here on African Tales by Imade. We don't just tell stories, we pass down warnings, wisdom, and wonder from generation to generation. If this story touched your heart, if it shocked you, if it made you hold your breath, smile, or think twice about free money, then don't just leave quietly. Hit that like button, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe for more stories like this one. Tell us in the comments, have you ever picked money from the ground before? What happened? What did this story teach you? And which village or tradition should we explore next? Every story is a doorway, and right here on African Tales by Ayotunde, we walk through them together. Till next time, remember,
A word is enough for the wise, but a story can save a soul. See you in the next tale. Stay wise, stay safe, stay African.